Good morning on this Monday, dealing with verbs still and verbs in the present tense. If you remember, we went through this at the end of last week, but when we talk about the tense of verbs, you guys know that things are happening right now in the present, or things already happened that's in the past, or things will happen that's in the future. We're talking about things that are happening right now, and through the spelling and how the verb looks, you can actually tell that in a sentence. It's kind of cool. We're going to get into past verbs later on this week and future verbs next week, but let's focus on verbs in the present. Again, page 102 to 103 is really going to help you. Simply a review with the action verb, right? You got to find the subject first. Who or what's doing something. Now that's generally a noun, not always, but generally a noun. If you look right here, right? Who or what did something? The bus. The action verb is what the subject does. So what did the bus do? Arrived. Arrived. That's the action verb that tells us what the subject does, and that's the verb. Well, again, we're going to focus a lot on this. We really nailed this last week, and to be honest, I'm going to kind of hit on this quite a bit today because it's so important. But when the subject, in this case it's a noun, is singular, notice the girl has no S, so there's just one girl, right? Then generally the verb or helping verb does have an S, right? The girl has talked to me, right? Here the girls is the subject, that's plural, right? More than one. So that has an S, and generally the verb, or in this case the helping verb, does not. Does not. That really is important because that's what we're going to talk about a lot here. And to be honest with you, the next three slides are different, but they all kind of are explaining the same thing just to nail down how important this is. We're really not going to read through all these words. It's just basically telling you what I already told you in the last slide. Please notice we talk about the dog jumps over the fence. We go back to finding the subject. Who or what did something? The dog. Notice one dog, singular. Therefore, the verb, what does the dog do? Jumps. That should have an S most of the time. In this case, it does. Again, use the hearing test for this. If you would say the dog jumped over the fence, that doesn't sound right to your ears. The dog jumps over the fence, that does sound correct. Now, if the same sentence, except for if you notice a little bit different here with the subject because it's plural, which means it does end in S. What are the dogs doing? They jump. They jump. That's a verb. Notice dogs, plural, has an S. The verb does not. Here again, use the hearing test. If you say the dog jumps over the fence, that's just too many S's there. It doesn't sound right in your ear. And if you say the dogs jump over the fence, now you got present verbs nailed down. Here again, kind of similar here. The one thing I want to focus on is what we ended last week on, is sometimes when they have pronouns as a subject right here, okay? So they, now if you can imagine, they is plural because you're talking about more than one person. So therefore, technically the verb has to be plural, which means it doesn't end in S. So they run, they swim. That's about the only time when you're not going to have the verb ending in S. So on and so forth. So here again, if you have Eduardo is singular, just one Eduardo. What does he do? He runs. Maria, just one Maria, so she swims. Notice all the way down here, the article, the teacher, the magazine, all singular nouns. So the verb ends in S. Here, all plural nouns or pronouns, they, books, supervisors, authors. So the verb does not end in S. Again, I know I told you 3 slides in a row that basically tell the same thing, but you got to have this nailed down here. So here again, now this chart doesn't really help me, but if it helps you, great. These sentences do. Notice the boy, one boy, no S. So the verb does need an S. The brothers, more than one, plural, has an S, so the verb should not have an S. You kind of go in an opposite world here. Now, most of this is review. but I wanted to, studying on a Monday, kind of review it here. What we really need to focus on today too is the spelling of present tense verbs. Here we're kind of going, and again, I don't want you to get confused with nouns because these are all verbs here. These are all action words, but some of the same rules apply to both nouns and verbs. Now, be careful with that. I'm just trying to say, just like we had singular nouns and how to spell plural nouns, there's all these different rules, is what I mean. Well, verbs do a lot of the same thing. And here's 3 rules we're going to focus on today. Now, in general, you just add an S to go to make a singular verb, right? He works. She eats. The dog plays, right? All singular nouns at the beginning. So you need a plural verb which ends in S. If you notice all the way down, every one of these verbs end in S because we talk about present tense verbs with a singular subject. Now, if the verbs end in a consonant, this abbreviation stands for consonant and Y, then you change the Y to I and add ES. Now, we did that same rule for nouns, but again, these are with verbs, but kind of similar to the rule with nouns. Change the Y to I and add ES if the letter right before the Y is a consonant. Every letter besides A, E, I, O, U are consonants. So B, C, D, F, G, so on and so forth. If you sing the alphabet without vowels. Now, if there's verbs that end in O, SH, TCH or CH, X, and SS, then you add an ES to the verbs. So here is go, and then you say she goes to the store. The dog washes. He watches the movie, so on and so forth. Okay? That's just how it works. So you got to check these endings here. And I want to strongly advise you to do 2 things. Number 1, really look right here at these examples and these 2 bullet points right here. Okay? That, in my opinion, is going to really help because it's going to give you the answers. And also page 102 and 103 in your textbook has some nice charts that'll help you. And if you notice, what I would personally do is I would look at the verb in parentheses, think, okay, it ends in CH. Boom. I'm going to look up here for an example. Look, see how March ends in CH. I know it's different words, but I'm focusing on the endings. The CH ending means you add ES. Okay, just like they did here. And so Eric watches in the kitchen. WATCH, add ES, and you're good. Ben, hey, this is all about me. Cool. Ben fixed dinner. Well, it needs to have, since it's a singular, one Ben, it needs to have a singular verb which should end in S. So fix, let's see, it ends in X. Does you see anything that ends in X here? Here, mix. Mix, I know it's a different verb, but we're focusing on the ending. What do you do if it ends in X? You add ES. Boom. F-I-X-E-X. ES, sorry. Ben fixes dinner. Now going back to, or I should say down to one that ends in Y, please focus on, is this a consonant? And R is, so let's find that ones with consonant and Y. You change the Y to I and add ES. Change the Y to I and add ES. So let's do that. Then his brother drives. D-R-I-E-S. Please use this chart for help. Please use the chart on page 102 to 103 for help. And hey, I do wish you guys Lord's blessings as you praise the Savior for this assignment.